Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, BethChatsBooks. Now today is going to be a generic book haul, some more books I took out of the library and just to catch up on where I am at. So I am just going to crack on. I just want to briefly mention that in the last kind of few videos around my books, I did a wrap up of a few books. Now I noticed that Machines Like Me by Ian McEwan I had shown you guys, so you're aware of. But Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks, the Gustav Sonata by Rose Tremaine, those two books I hadn't necessarily checked in with you guys about, but I had taken them out of the library, and along with that I had taken Spring by Ali Smith out. Now since then I have finished Spring, and I will discuss it on a wrap up when I've finished a few more of these library books. But suffice to say, I am using the library regularly now, and every time I return books I'm taking some more out. So when I took Machines Like Me back, I took Birdsong, the Gustav Sonata and Spring out. I'm not going to dwell on any of those books because two of them I read and I've already spoken about on this channel, and Spring I can just tack on to the next one. So I'm just going to talk about this giant pile of books that I also have taken out of the library. So the first one I want to talk about is A Keeper by Graham Norton. Now I am currently 200 odd pages into this one. I am on page 224 and there's 324 pages. So I've only got 100 pages left. So again, I don't want to spoil too much because I kind of want to go through this with you guys in the next kind of wrap up. But I am really loving this story. It's about a mother and a daughter. The mother's called Patricia and the daughter's called Elizabeth, and it's set in kind of predominantly Ireland. And it's about the daughter Elizabeth discovering things about Patricia after she's died. But I'm not going to talk too much about it because I really want to wrap it up. I'm pleasantly surprised. Graham Norton is a fantastic writer. And I know this isn't his first, I think it's his second novel. But it's not related to the first one. I think they're all standalones that he's written. But I am highly impressed. But I'm still kind of processing my thoughts on this, so I feel like it deserves to be spoken about in a bit more detail in a wrap up. So there's that one. And then the next one is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Artesha Moshfegh. A lot of people can say that a lot better than me, and it seems that the way that it's pronounced just jars with my mouth a little bit, with my palate. So anyway, this, as it says here, is by the author of Eileen, which I read recently and really enjoyed. And I know that this was her more kind of famous work, and in particular this year this book seems to be getting a lot of hype. I've heard podcasts talking about this book. I've heard a lot of people that I really respect enjoying this book on BookTube and on other kind of on Twitter as well and other places like that, and Instagram. I see this cover a lot. It is a very interesting cover. I know the premise is that the character has some kind of illness and makes a decision to kind of just have a year of rest and relaxation, and I believe there's kind of hints that she has a therapist as well. I don't really know much about it at all, and I kind of want to go into it a little bit blind because I often find that if I try and explain it to you and I don't know much about it, that I don't necessarily do its service. So I've heard a lot of people have really enjoyed this. I didn't know whether I'd like it because the idea of her just having a year of rest and relaxation due to her mental and physical health, I thought that sounded kind of a tedious premise for this book, but nobody has said that that's read it. Everybody says it's very fascinating and they've really enjoyed this book and found it very compelling. So I will have to let you guys know when I've finished it. So there's that one. And then the next one is Colson Whitehead's The Underground Railroad. So this has been on my radar for a while. My mum tried reading this quite a few months ago now, maybe half a year ago, and she found it really disturbing. She said there's a lot of violence in this book that really turned her off, and she ended up kind of DNFing the book and putting it down. She found it a little bit too difficult of a read. So I have a little bit more of a tougher stomach than my mother for these kind of things, so I'm hoping that maybe I will find the poignancy and the beauty in this that she just couldn't kind of get to. So I know it's about Cora, who's a slave on a cotton plantation in Georgia, She's approaching womanhood when danger and pain awaits. So when Caesar, a slave recently arrived from Virginia, tells her about the Underground Railroad, Cora takes the momentous decision to accompany him on his escape to the north. So I know there's a lot of kind of visceral imagery in this, and I know it's a very, very hard read in terms of emotions, as well as a very well written and kind of dense book. I know a lot of people have said that. This author seems to be somebody who's a little bit hit and miss. I know he's done a more recent novel than this called The Nickel Boys, and I know that some people have enjoyed that more than this one, and I've heard very mixed things about both. Some people have absolutely loved them, some people haven't got on with them. My mum is one of those that haven't got on with this book. So I don't really know how I'll feel about it, but I wanted to go in and give it a try, because those who do enjoy his novels really enjoy them. So I'll have to let you know when I get to this one as well. And then the next ones are, I literally took these out on Sunday, got a real issue. I took 4 books back and then took out another 6 books. So I clearly have a problem. But what are we going to do? So the next one is Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeleine Tien. Now this one was floating around when I first got into BookTube. This was one that was on the Man Booker prize list, and I remember being really interested in this story. It was one that was on my radar, and I was really close to buying it on Book Depository when I bought a few of the other books that were on the kind of the shortlist of that year, but I didn't pursue this any further. I forgot about it and I thought, nah, maybe not. And then I saw it at the library and I thought it's worth a read because it has been on my radar now for quite a while. It says this was shortlisted in 2016, which I didn't realise it's kind of that old now. So I'm going to read you the back because I don't know that much about this one at all. I just remember the title. So it says, in 1990, 10-year-old Marie and her mother taken a young woman fleeing the aftermath of the Tiananmen Square protests. Her name is Ai Ming. She brings stories of her family under Chairman Mao and of revolutionary idealism, music and silence, stories which span the course of China's recent turbulent history and have deep and lasting consequences for Ai Ming and for Marie. So that sounds like that's going to be really, really interesting. I mean, it is really, really dense and the font is really, really tiny. Yeah, it's nearly 500 pages, so I know this is going to be a bit of a chunky read, but again, I'll let you guys know how I get on with it. And then the next one I don't have to talk to you guys too much about, and that is Career of Evil by Robert Galbraith, which is number 3 in the Cormoran Strike series by J.K. Rowling, the pseudonym Robert Galbraith. Again, I don't actually bother to check what these stories are about, I'm just really enjoying the series. But it says on the back, when a mysterious package is delivered to Robin Ellicott, she's horrified to discover that it contains a woman's severed leg. The boss, Private Detective Cormoran Strike, is less surprised but no less alarmed. There are 4 people from his past who he thinks could be responsible, and Strike knows that any one of them is capable of sustained and unspeakable brutality. So this is another chunky one in the series. Let's see how many pages this one's got. Right, around 570 pages, which is similar to Silkworm. A lot of people I've heard that have read this series particularly find this one of the best out of the series, and Silkworm was a little bit disappointing compared to A Cuckoo's Calling. Marginally, I really enjoyed it, but I found it was quite a bit disturbing, the whole de-gutting of somebody. A little bit, maybe kind of think Silence of the Lambs-esque, a little bit on the horror side more than the thriller side. I'm hoping that this goes back into the juicy thriller kind of elements that was in Cuckoo's Calling that I really enjoyed. So that's all I'm going to say, because I'm going to let you guys know how I get on with it when I've read it. So there's that one. And then the next one is Fugitive Pieces by Anne Michaels. Now, I picked this up purely because I went through a phase a few months ago of writing down a lot of winners of potential prizes that I wanted to keep a radar on and kind of go through their back catalogues, because I'd noticed Simon over at Savage Reads had been doing that with his mother for the Bailey's Prize from when it started, because here it says the best selling winner of the Orange Prize, and the Bailey's Prize used to be called the Orange Prize, and now it's not called the the Bailey's Prize. It's called the Women's Prize for Fiction, but I still can't refer to it as that. I just keep calling it the Bailey's Prize for some reason. Anyway, waffle. So yeah, this is one of the older winners from the prize, and so when I'd been writing them down, I wanted to check whether my library had any of them and moving forward to try and read them. So I found this one. So it says it is a novel that follows Jacob Beer, a 7-year-old who's rescued from the muddy ruins of a buried village in Nazi-occupied Poland. Of his family, is the only one who has survived. Under the guidance of Greek geologist Athos, Jacob must steel himself to excavate the horrors of his own history. I'm really sorry, I'm like blah at the moment. I'm just forgotten how to speak. This one was quite short as well, which tempted me to get it out because I had this odd feeling, I'm a bit kind of superstitious with my books, that if I put this away I'd forget about it and forget that the library had it. Whereas some of the more famous titles, I thought, if I have to put this book back, I'll remember it. So this one I held on to tightly. I held on too tightly. And I don't know much more than that about it, and I'll let you guys know when I've finished it. We're nearly there, 3 more books, so we're just going to do a whistle-stop tour. So the next one is The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. I've purely picked this one up because over at Getting Hygge With It, over at that channel, she recommended this book fairly recently, and she did a recent video where she compared this one and said if you like this book you might like another one. And it popped up again. I think she'd mentioned it in about 3 different videos. And it sounded really intriguing, and I think she did quite enjoy it. Her cover is a lot prettier than this hardback. But it made me think, maybe I will really enjoy it. And if I do enjoy it, then it might help me get back into the thriller genre again, because I was kind of, in the last few months, I've been flirting with that genre a bit more and really enjoying it. So I know that the premise, based on how she's kind of said in the previous videos, is that she gets a mysterious letter saying that she is now the sole inheritor of a house. She knows it's not herself directly, that the letter's referring to, that it's been an error, but she's down on her luck and she has nothing, and she thinks, well, I'll just go and see what happens and see if I can get this house, and then we take it from there. So I'm gonna read this and let you guys know how I get on, but it sounds quite intriguing and quite fast-paced, even though it does feel like quite a chunky book. Yeah, over 300 pages, but if it's fast-paced then I should be able to just get through this one pretty quickly. And then the next one is Skin Deep by Liz Nugent. I picked this up because I didn't actually see it very well on the shelves, and then I thought, oh, I'll just have a little look, that seems to be ringing a bell for me. And then I realised that the ladies over at What Page Pod Are You On, Alice Slater and Bethany Rutter, have raved about this book on many a podcast, said it's really deep psychological, there's lots going on, gets under your skin deep. And it was always on my radar of, oh, that sounds like such a me book, because a lot of the books they recommend, or a lot of the books that they've said they've really enjoyed, that I've also read, I've loved. So I kind of trust their recommendations in terms of kind of dark psychological books. So I don't actually know much about this one. It says Cordelia Russell has been living on the French Riviera for 25 years, passing herself off as an English socialite. But her luck and the kindness of strangers have run out. The arrival of a visitor from a distant past shocks Cordelia. And then there'll be some kind of consequences. Sounds like my kind of book. This is a very big, chunky book as well. These girls do not pick kind of quick romps either. Yep, this is 360 odd pages. But I think nowadays novels aren't really that kind of 200 to 300 threshold anymore. I think people are writing a lot more, which is great for us. And I'm hoping that the story develops in an interesting way. So there's that one. And then the final one is Malmuth, or Malmuth, I never know how to pronounce that, by Sarah Perry. So I was walking around in Waterstones before the library opened on Sunday, and I spotted this and I realised I love the Essex Serpent a lot. This has been on my radar for a while, and I thought, why haven't I got round to it? And I literally said that day to myself, if I go into the library and it's there, I'll take it out, because a lot of people really enjoyed this. and as The Essex Serpent, the year I read it was one of my favourite books of that year. I really, really fell in love with that book. I thought really I should give this a go. So some people even enjoy this a little bit more than The Essex Serpent, but she's an author I have a lot of time for, so I really wanted to give it a go. I also know it's kind of got that gothic-y feel that I'm really in the mood for at the moment. So it says, 20 years ago, Helen Franklin did something she cannot forgive herself for, and she has spent every day since barricading herself against its memory. But the sheltered life she's crafted for herself is about to change. Strange manuscript has come into her possession, and its contents have the power to unravel every strand of her fragile safety net. So again, it sounds like some mysterious goings on. It's kind of got the undertone of that feel that The Essex Serpent kind of gave you as well. So I'm really excited to get to it, and I think it's not going to be quite as long as the others that I have out at the moment. Yeah, it's under 300 pages, which is a relief. But I've also just noticed as I was looking at the page references how beautiful those end papers are. They're just stunning. And it's the same on the front. So, and the cover's beautiful as well, so that always helps as a book appreciator, that you have a beautiful cover to admire while you're reading. So that is all of them. You're probably bored to tears with all those different books, but I just thought I'd whiz through and let you guys know, so that when I actually wrap them up this time, you won't be surprised that there's just random books you have no idea I was reading. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with a brand new video. Bye now.